Hello, my name's Sergeant Host Eric of the Type Police, and I want to welcome you to this episode. One of my most reliable tipsters, MJ, Marjorie, suggested this gentleman on the grounds that he's an interesting case. Makes me curious. Let's see what he has to say on this upcoming episode of Type Police. Try as you might, you just can't hide, 'cause you're mistyped. And I've been waiting to pull you over all night. Type police, type police. Please pull that guy over. He says he's ENTJ, but seems extroverted, sensing to me. I think he's ESFP or type police. Make me a little bit smaller. It seems to be burdening la computadora con excessive procesero demands. You don't want excessive procesero demands, or else you'll get in trouble with the Mexican government. It's true. It's not true, but it's, close to true, similar to true, related. Let's look now at this. Home fries. What is your name? Deep intellectual shit, huh? Let's see.
Learning typology, and here's a video on the alpha quadra. ESFJs, ISFJs, ENTPs, and INTPs. Imagine at court, one has to be able to speak for himself. And there are certain rules to when you can speak for yourself and who says what, who argues for who, whatever. To be able to speak for yourself in court, you have to know laws, and you have to know how to interpret laws. You have to be able to interpret them into your favor, to so that they will serve you. You have to make the laws serve you. People with TI blocked or used together with extroverted intuition are very good at this. So the alpha quadra uses TI together with NE, which makes them really value this kind of bending of rules. If you talk to an alpha, they will probably be able to convince you that 2 equals 3. Like, there's an example of like all these equations where it's like x equals z and 2x equals something, and this like long, a lot of different equations, and eventually someone like managed to prove that 2 equals 3 because they made like one small mistake in the equation, but nobody notices that. So that's a legal move in the alpha quadra. You can make contradictions as long as no one notices it. And if you notice these kind of contradictions in the alpha quadra, you get a lot of points, because then you've debated correctly, and a lot of extra points if you also manage to correct their grammar.
Alright. Let's see. That's not where I'm going for. So, that's... the thing is, I don't think you necessarily... It's necessarily because the contradictions... Yeah, that's true. Contradictions don't count, they're not noticed by anybody. That's pretty insightful. Alright, deep intellectual shit. You're right about that. And what else did you say? I don't know, those things stuck out. I'm pretty tired right now, but I finally got my rig set up here properly again. That I moved my desk. It's gonna sound better than in the previous video. As a consequence. Let's see. What type is this guy? Let's find out more.
I remember arguing with some guy. I got the feeling that he was basically just arguing to argue to just like win in an argument. And I'm just like this poor Norwegian guy. I don't even know how to speak English or write English, and I'm having this argument with him, and he's like pointing out my grammar. Like, what the fuck? Okay. What my reaction would be to that is to just walk away. Actually no. I don't think I'm the guy who would walk away. But some people would like just. I don't want to deal with your fucking bullshit. When you talk to some guys just like arguing to argue and using the very creative and interesting arguments, they just walk away. That's the Gamma approach to Alpha. Rhetoric isn't valued in Gamma at all. If you make a point and you like have all these good arguments and all that stuff, it means nothing. Because what really matters is whether you know what you're talking about and stuff. Yeah, it doesn't like people can say whatever they want, but it doesn't matter if you don't know what you're talking about. Gammas don't care if you argue properly or if your grammar is correct or whatever.
Obviously, I side with Alpha here. Is it the case that argument doesn't really matter if you know what you're talking about? No, not the case at all. I mean, there are lots of golden calves yet to be depurged, and we look at a whole series of events in which all the experts were wrong. Listening to the experts got you in trouble. Listening to the argumentation saved your ass. Because argumentation says, hold off a second, let's not bypass steps, let's do the real calculation ourselves. Whereas other modalities don't. So anyway, this guy, gamma quarter, let's see. Beta is the ISTPs and the NFJs. So delta is NFPs and STJs, and gamma is NTJs and SFPs. I think so. I'm pretty sure. There's gamma quadra. Let's see what it says. Yes, that's correct. That's Gamma Quadra. And there's that guy's video popping up for me. Well, probably because I'm watching one right now, I guess. So, there's something kind of chip on their shouldery about Gamma Quadra. Like, well, like they want to do what they want to do, and they don't like the constraints of the world upon that. They want to be how they want to be, and they don't like the expectations of society upon that. They don't think arguing is worth anything. But of course, it's a quadra conflict. That's why Margie wanted me to watch this. Yeah, it's annoying me. Yeah, it is. You're right, Margie. This guy's gamma-iness.
Another legal move in debating with an alpha. Yes, alphas are very into debating. It's very fun. You can, like ESFJs, if you argue with an ESFJ, they will shout and scream and whatever when you say something they disagree with. So it's very hard to shout as loud as them, be as charismatic as them, and at the same time make sensible arguments. So they will very easily win a debate by just like being the loudest person in the room. This is where like certain rules to how to handle debates come in. Like first this person gets to talk, and then this person gets to talk, and then that person gets to talk. Else he is.
Okay. I think he's talking about his alpha quadra value First, this person gets talked at, then that person gets talked. Each person has a burden to respond to the person. The problem is other quadras aren't, well, they're just not as good at it. They're not capable at it. So they don't respond. They don't listen. When I get loud, it's because somebody's not listening to me, not being responsive at all. I've heard everything they said. Margie, why you put this thing in front of me?
Cs or ESFJs would win all the time. Yeah. Anything else? I think alphas are, if you have certain rules to like restrict people, to make sure they don't do whatever they want, to make sure they don't go buy, what's it called, like alcohol and basically make sure people don't waste their money. If you like, yeah, whatever. If you just give alphas certain rules and you provide for them, they will be productive in society because they are so interested in like the laws of society and the and science and things that are basically like good for society to discuss and to explore. So they don't get motivated by working for money. So why would they work for money when they can just work for curiosity? And they work much better for curiosity than any other reason. So at school they are kind of like they are prone to like being lazy, I think. Because like schools, you have to learn this because we say so, and that's not. Alphas just learn because they're interested in it, and they will learn a lot. But they will show up at the. I hate my English. I was supposed to say something really interesting, like celebrations and stuff. They'll show up at celebrations, whatever. Christmas and all that good stuff. Because FE with SI, like very in the moment, very pleasant, very nice. It makes sense when I don't think about it. Okay, thank you for watching, whatever.
Well, very interesting. I guess I mostly agree with a lot of what he said. I don't know what type he is. He indicates he's a gamma quadra in that one. So let's watch his gamma quadra rant.
This is on the gamma quadra. That's ESFPs, ISFPs, INTJs, INTJs. Values, extroverted sensing, introverted feeling, extroverted logic, and introverted intuition. What? So one way that one example of this quadra in action. If you have like imagine you have a police force, right? This is like a thing you see in a lot of movies. There's the police force with a bunch of people that are kind of like stupid. It's kind of making fun of how the police force is a bunch of like people who just follows procedures and don't think of a thing case by case. That is introverted logic versus extroverted logic. The extroverted logic is looking at things case by case because it has nothing to do with a system. It's just looks at the facts here and now. What does these facts mean? Accepted ways of doing things
isn't relevant with that. So you with this kind of shows, it's like there's one person who has like figured out who the murderer is, and they are like working to find evidence to convict that murderer or like solve the case, and they just look at the case and they just want to solve it. They are really passionate about figuring out what's really going on and stopping the murderer or finding the murderer or whatever. But the police force, which is kind of like making fun of introverted logic types, are just a bunch of idiots who just follow procedures and don't think. It's a good thing to follow procedures sometimes because you get things orderly and you it's much easier to work in a grand scale if you follow procedures, because if you have a million things that is supposed to like to function, if you have a million different police officers, you know, you should have some rules for what they do, because then it's much easier to get them in line. You know, it's important to get, if you have 1 in a million, you got to get them in line for them to actually work efficiently. But if the focus is on something working efficiently, you are using extroverted logic, which is kind of a contradiction between introverted logic and extroverted logic, because on a grand scale it's more efficient to use TI than TE, but looking at things through efficiency, it's not something that introverted logic types do to that extent. So that's kind of like humanity as an organism kind of going together with TI, and that's TI looks at people's similarities. So people go together with TI in order to like form a huge team of people to do things a certain way, and that has proved to be a very efficient way of doing things. So the reason why we as humans do things in procedural ways is not because we once decided through analysis that, okay, it's good to have a procedure here. It's because it's certain procedures kind of win in the end, because that's the ones that work. And things that work have a tendency to win. This is a huge rant that doesn't have a lot to do with what I was going to talk about, but it kind of does, and I'm not sure if I'm making sense here, but I think I'm actually making sense, at least in my head. I might not be formulating it a very effective way. But anyways, that's a way of looking at extroverted logic. Extroverted logic just looks at one issue and decides what's effective or what happened or what's really going on, instead of trying to do it grand scale.
Alright, so he obviously considered himself some kind of ENTJ. He's kind of taxing my patience here. I don't want to be tempted to say he's some kind of NTP, except for his disdain for NTP values in the first video was pretty clear, unless he was putting on a show. I don't think so. So I would guess he probably positioned himself as an ENTJ. The only reason I would say I would probably initially think, I wonder if he's some kind of NTP, is because he seems to be kind of freestyling this shit, you know? But he sort of pulled himself back and tried to say, well, I'm not really being saying this very well or whatever like that. I'd buy ENTJ. I'd buy INTJ. I don't know what he self-identifies with, so I can't, or as, so I can't really arrest him. He seems to be mostly right about cognitive functions. I haven't heard anything too egregious so far that I remember, anyway. So, I'm going to have to let this guy go. He is an interesting case. I'm going to say he probably self-identifies as ENTJ. More than INTJ. And that seems like maybe 8th slot FE. ESTJ, ENTJ territory. And it seems like ENTJ because he's not talking about any kind of experiences, really. Alright, the end of this episode of Try As You Might, You Just Can't Hide, 'cause you're mistyped. And I've been waiting to pull you over all night. Type police, type police. Please pull that guy over. He says he's INTP, but seems extroverted, sensing to me. I think he's ESFP or type police. Okay, so please continue, those of you who have, or start, those of you who have not done it before, if you feel like it, to put links for people you'd like me to do this, type police for, or debate police, or whatever. I'm always interested in interesting links. This guy, he was pretty interesting. He was interesting in his correctness about things. That made me interested in him. He was mostly correct. In my opinion, I'm not the gauge of all knowing. I'm just some old bong ripping kook bag out in the sticks, wobbling head back and forth. Remember, kids, the dangers of smoking are vastly overrated. Overstated, I mean. I don't think anybody really overrates the dangers of smoking. Boo, boo, don't say that. Oh, fucking lighten up. The end.